Welcome to Many Cradles, episode 5. If you haven't seen the last few episodes, then what are you doing? You're being spoiled. Go, go! Okay, now that you've gone, hopefully, I just wanted to let you guys know that this is going to be a pretty significant and impactful episode. This is the end of the very ancient era, for lack of a better name. I'm thinking of just renaming it to the ancient era. But anyway, because this is the end of a major time period, the time at which this episode is going to end will correspond to roughly 1000 BCE in our timeline. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get started with today's episode. Starting in Asia, we have a civilization. Well, yeah, we have a situation from a civilization which needs to be resolved, and that is none other than the infamous light blue team. Yeah, look at you, huh? You tried to expand, you tried to conquer way more than you could realistically hold, and now you're cooked, okay? You're cooked. And the people of this country know they're cooked. The old leader and group of and like royal family who supported this expansion campaign, they're overthrown. New leaders put into power. So yeah, and major changes are made to this nation. Changes so major that they deserve a new color, which is why we're giving them one. That and there's the fact that these Egyptian guys have the same color, I think. So not good. Yeah, let's recolor these guys here. Coloring in. And oh yeah, their holdings in India as well. We might as well fix that. But when I say holdings in India, I mean temporary holdings. You know why? Because this red country over here, they've had enough with the expansion of this now dark blue country. And the dark blue country hasn't had enough with its expansion. So the small number of dark blue settlers which have conquered this region, the majority of them just leave. Though they do leave some cultural footprint on this area, but not much. And the borders of this region are completely redrawn. Starting with the fact that this blue country over here, they collect some land. Actually, no. They collect some land over here. The red team allows them this land, and the blue team's like, okay, a lot of that was ours originally, so thank you, I guess, but not really because we deserve that anyway. But the red team notably does hold on to this area. And as for the rest of this territory, say hello to the pink team, new country. So yeah, based on the geography of this area, the Malabar coast over here becomes this pink country. Look at that. Another country emerges containing Sri Lanka over here and this territory. And the remaining inland region just becomes a orange country over here. So yeah, these are the new states of South India. This is the new map of this region. And as for the rest of the country, not the rest of the country, as for this region over here, it simply stays as the core southern Indonesian territory. Yeah, this is the new state here. From a grand empire stretching up till over here to now reduced to nothing. Well, not nothing. They still hold considerable influence because they've been actually building some more cities with some of the wealth they've gained. Yet they're nowhere near the power they used to be. Speaking of cities, I updated the city map. Well, maybe not so clearly, but you will maybe notice that I added some cities down here, more in China, for example. In this region, you can find a few. See if you can spot them. Africa, some more got added. Same with South America, North America too, Oceania as well. So, yeah, more cities here. As I was saying, these guys built some cities. So yeah, hope you enjoy your new city map, and in later episodes I'm going to be turning on this map much more so you can see the progression of cities. And I'm going to say when there's like a major change to the city map, but now let's move on to our next part of the world. In China, we see some interesting events happen. This blue country over here, they expand significantly around this region. They even take a lot of this fertile area in the north up. Whoa. Anyway, this nation has been rapidly growing over the course of other events in this episode. Just to make things clear, all the other things that have happened, such as the fall of the Indonesian country, is happening in concurrence with other events. Essentially, like, yeah, this is happening at the same time. You get the idea. And the green country doesn't like that. So they expand more and they also start invading the other country. Yeah, this invasion's going pretty well until they try to. Oh, Lear's over here, my bad. Until they try to take over. Whoa. Yeah, they try to take over an urban area. They were being led into this region, even though they were suspicious, because three major cities, you can tell it's a populated area. By the way, the cities map, pretty important. It's now like major settlements slash real cities. Real cities, there are several smaller towns. I don't know if I mentioned this before, maybe I'm being redundant, but it's basically what the city map is at this point, just like actual cities instead of small settlements. And what we can see here is that's pretty bad. Pretty bad. Yet, conquering such a large amount of territory for this relatively small country, which has already expanded a lot, well, that's going to have some consequences. And for this green country, losing a large portion of territory like this, that's also going to have consequences for both of these countries. And what is the biggest form of consequence we've seen in this series so far? Yeah, this is not good. Essentially, what happened, both of these countries got destabilized. They're now much smaller than before. And migrants from the north, who this country over here, well, it's barely a country at all. It's like a loose confederation. They migrated south because certain other groups migrated north. You don't see anything on the map here because they haven't formed a civilization yet, though people do exist in this part of the world. But yeah, basically some of these people migrated down here. So now we see these two northern Chinese states which have experienced significant northern migration and are ruled by, well, they're ruled by like a mixture of these people. So yeah, the China is becoming very diverse culturally. It's fragmented, it's split. It's likely not going to unify anytime soon. But yeah, now we're gonna have daily China updates. Of course, I forget. I mean, unless I forget. That's definitely not gonna happen, right, guys? Yeah, that definitely won't happen. But really, hopefully, I remember daily China updates, but they may or may not occur. Here in Europe, essentially, what we've seen is this pink country over here. They've formed a massive civilization and it extends all the way to these states over here. Other than that, there hasn't been much action in this continent yet. Over in the Americas, remember what I said about how there was that ruler who expanded and took a lot of territory? Yeah, that ruler passed away. I let you guys think of how. Then he was succeeded, and the new ruler is far more sensible. This new ruler divided the entire country into several sections. These areas are now independent and are not run by the people from this area, Mexico, but run by the people from these other areas. yet they do maintain a slight cultural influence from this region, and some individuals chose to stay and live in these regions. So, as a result, we see that the awkward silence. You get the idea. We see that this map is looking much more filled in. Over here, look at this. It's a new map. Now, can you guess what map this could be? I will give you a few seconds. If you guess the trade route map, you're correct. This is a map of the world's trade routes. And this is the first advanced trade route, and I know what you're thinking. Why? Why is this green tree building a trade route when there's no civilizations here? Well, this is synergizing with their expansion over here because this trade route is spreading the culture of the green team to these peoples over here, and as a result, we see something very significant. Yeah, this country expanded a little bit, and now that I'm thinking about it, apologies if my voice was cut off, it sounded cut off a little earlier, but now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I should make the brush thickness a little lighter. Yeah, I think a brush size of 1, that should be good. I think it's kind of cool how with the cities and the trade routes and the lake over here, this looks like a face, like this country now looks like a person screaming. Maybe I should call this the Scream Country. No? Alright. But if you're watching this episode and this becomes a really long series, which I'm sure it's gonna become, but if it does, then this is gonna be our inside joke, guys. Our inside joke. This is the Scream Country. This is the joke the true OGs know. Yeah, guys, there we go. We're building a real community here and fostering channel spirit. Please subscribe if you would like to be a part of that energetic, vibrant, and loving community. Oh, okay. Come on, guys. You have to admit that was a good transition. Come on. Hey, don't click off the video. Don't click off, please. Yeah, I see you. At first glance, it looks like Ethiopia over here formed an empire, but really this is more of a unified cultural federation between the East African peoples here and the Arab peoples over here. Well, not Arab because this timeline's different, but anyway, this is really just a unified state between the peoples in this region, and this is going to create a cultural hybrid, if you imagine, between like this Middle Eastern region and East African region. So yeah, interesting stuff happening here. I let you guys figure out some more of the specifics, but for now, we are now going to move on to South Asia. Oh no, we are not done with this region yet. Oh well. What do we have here? Well, essentially a royal marriage occurred between these two nations, so as a result, they're now unified, though, to be fair, I just gave them all a unanimous color for simplicity. I didn't feel like making a mixed color, so yeah, it's just the Indus Valley color, the Indus Valley team color. But anyway, why? What do we see with big nations? Well, why royal marriage? I'm going in circles. What am I doing? Okay, let me get to the point. What do we have down here? Well, basically, these regions over here didn't feel like being a part of of this new union, so they're their own country now. A strange historic remnant of the old Indian state. And these areas that were against it, yeah, they're just gonna get filled in. I'm definitely. Oh shoot, I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, I definitely did not need to show filling those areas in on camera. But anyway, this. What the? As I was saying, this empire rapidly expands across South Asia. They mainly unified to form an empire, basically. Yeah, they wanted to conquer as much territory as possible under a common identity, unify the people of both rivers, the Indus and the Ganga. Yeah, they're expanding, taking much territory. The Thar Desert is conquered. They expand into the west down here. And eventually, after a few years, their army moves at a surprisingly rapid pace. But this isn't just like the empires we've seen before, because if you remember, I'm sure you do, right, guys? This was the world's first empire, but it was primarily land based. Yet, over here, we see them also start to expand a bit into southern Vietnam. The Philippines, too, what? Now, this isn't the first. Now, you might be thinking, wait, wasn't that old light blue country? Wasn't that the technically the first empire and the first maritime bound one? Well, it was more so a confederation that turned into an authoritarian empire. Maybe I should have made that clearer, but yeah, this is like explicitly an empire. So are these guys. They're having several overseas colonies, and oh wow. Oh, even Australia? Wow, these guys know what they're really? Madagascar too? Madagascar too. How are you going to conquer a land which is so culturally distinct and so far away? Well, they 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 just got that riz. Okay, no, that's a dumb explanation which makes no sense. But basically, this region has a lot of population and it can support and I'm saying in so many times. Basically, this region, great geography, protected by mountains, can support a large population and much technological development due to the fresh water supporting these northern plains regions. So they've been able to consolidate and form an empire, and that's how we see they're so powerful. But is this power going to last? Well, empires eventually fall. So when is it their turn? Let's not think about this now, they've just become a powerful empire. But let's move on to another map. Yeah, one thing is clear. In the religion map now, we see that global religions have become much more widespread and some new ones have popped up. So let's break this down. In the Americas, we see several major religions have formed, as well as Africa. Yet, due to these regions' divided geography, we see that these religions haven't been able to spread as much as some others in terms of how much. Actually, these religions do occupy a lot of territory, but you don't see as many widespread religions in the Americas and Africa over here due to these regions' divided geographies. As I've mentioned, there are religions in these white areas, just that the religions vary a lot. For example, the religion over here would vary a lot from the religion over here, and simply put, it's not really like part of a connected faith, whereas in these colored regions, there's clear standardization and connection within members of the same religion. Like people here are part of the same religion as people here. So yeah, that's basically what it is. I need to get rid of these dots. Yeah, there we go. Now over here, due to that point I just mentioned, we see that this area has been pretty filled in with widespread religions. For example, we see that this orange religion is pretty dominant around the Mediterranean region and the Black and Caspian Seas. We see a blue one here, pink one, a green one, this dark pink one, the yellow Indian one, two in China actually, slash Oceania. Well, actually Oceania is a different one. But at this point, this marks the end of an era. Now, the religion map and soon a different kind of map, maybe, is going to play a key role in shaping the fates and futures of nations. So do be expecting to see this map much more often. One last thing to note here, the religions you can see are primarily centered around where the current civilizations on the map are, yet that may or may not change. Now, looking at the civilization map, our good old default map over here, we see some new ones have formed. Now, let's jump right into it. So, first of all, we see a new one has formed in Central Europe, another one in the Ural Mountains, and let's scroll down. Where is the next one going to be? Here, in East Africa. Essentially, this is this is a very interesting one. It functions as a loose confederation between these various states, but they are all unified under one civilization, one form of governance, just in different areas. It's a very interesting way of running a country, given that the land isn't really connected, but they make it work. And yeah, that should pretty much be it for the new civilizations I just added. Now let's move on. Yeah, I decided to add another one over here in North America. So yeah, new purple team. But anyway, moving down over to the Middle East / South Asia. Let's move on to the good old Caucasian Empire, which I'm sure is a fan favorite from some of you. Maybe. You know, world's first empire, that sort of thing. Anyway, they're beginning a massive campaign into Iran, yet they're not just invading this area, they're also consolidating control. They're trying to make this region a core part of their country. And we see that they're also spearheading into modern day Afghanistan. They're conquering, they're near the sea, they conquer the Caspian. They're heading up north. Yet they realize it's not a smart idea to go too far north because up north is a different religion, as you can see here. And they've already conquered some of this minority area, and they just don't want to go too far up because it'll be hard to take over areas of a completely different religion. And that's why they can't go too far east either. They're not the only ones who expand though, because whoa. The Indian team also wait, what's wrong with my anyway, the Indian team is also expanding over here. Yeah, they've expanded a little bit, but wait a second. There was a slight misunderstanding. A slight misunderstanding that would change the course of this region's and Asia as a whole's history forever. These two countries didn't have a strong understanding of where the borders were, so as a result, some troops from this Indian nation over here, let's call them India, some troops from India went a little into Caucasia's territory, and some troops from the Caucasian Empire went a little into the Indian Empire's territory. And both nations blamed the other for the aggression. Tensions boiled over. The leaders of these two nations saw a potential opportunity, an opportunity to expand their reach. And before you know it, due to a variety of factors such as tension and a desire for conquest, and the power of these nations reaching that level, the Caucasian and Indian empires are going to war. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Many Cradles. This is the end of an era. We're going to see the series start to change significantly from here on out. So do look forward to that. And as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, share, that good stuff. Check out maybe some other content. And I'll see you all in the next one.